Good evening, Mayor Manning and City Council members. My name is Erin Prince, Superintendent of Corvallis School District. I am present tonight to commend the Council for not only moving forward and seeking a renewal for the existing local option levy that supports many of our community services, but also in proposing additional services that are a priority for our city. While in support of many of the proposed services, I would like to publicly address one that is close to my heart around the safety and welfare of our children. The proposed levy calls for a full-time school resource officer for our district. For many reasons, I support this recommendation. School resource officers serve our students, staff, and families in many positive ways. They act as a source of information, a link.
Good evening. My name is Mike Murphy. I live in Ward 9. I apologize in advance. I'm a poor public speaker. I am retired fixed income, which means any increase in property taxes means less money for me for food, fuel, house repairs, or any other choices I wish to make. The city council members, I believe, joined the council with visions of improving our city and our society. And usually that entails spending money. I don't see anything being done without spending money usually. You're spending other people's money, which is fine. I don't know, it has to be done. But you have to use caution that there are limits in what we can do. We cannot have everything we want in life. You have to prioritize what is critical and what is not. Side note, HP, they're going to win the appeal. They have better lawyers in the state. And that's going to be a permanent reduction in city funds. I'm sure you've talked about that already. Something to consider. As far as what on this list of items you wish to spend money on, I wish you had used the city newsletter to send out a sample ballot for people to rank items, 1 through 20, whatever, how many items are on there, so you can get an idea what.
Hi, Kenny Davidson, Ward 5. I'm very happy that you came down to Corvallis. I live right up the street in Kawaf here, which was ecologically friendly, and so I do appreciate you all driving here so I could walk. Looking over the list, I love the list. I love the list. I fully support community policing. I fully support a school resource officer. I don't think the city has proven that we need to reopen Station No. 5. I don't think the evidence is there that the closure has made this a more dangerous spot.
Councilors, my name is Leo Quirk. If I were knowledgeable about all the services that might be funded by the tax levy, there's a good chance I might support many of them. I want to confine my remarks here to just 2 of the services or institutions, and that's the public library and the Osborne Aquatic Center. And I'm going to be echoing Brianna's remarks, and she'll be a hard act to follow here. I swim at Osborne 5 or 6 days a week, and I'm a pretty regular patron at the library. But my own my own selfish preferences aside, I believe those 2 institutions are very important for the young people in this community.
All right. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. When I first purchased my house in 2000, there wasn't a single lot. There wasn't a single lot on the block that my house sits on that was capable of supporting a duplex. Now, in 2013, based off of amendments proposed by the city staff and approved by the city council, every single lot on my block is big enough, considered big enough for a duplex. This boon in student housing, despite lengthy debate and testimony to the council that's well thought out and coherent against continuing this type of development, it's moved forward. And now, much of this levy, a large portion of this levy, appears to be directly attributed to subsidizing the cost of this development. We're looking at 6 police officers. We were told earlier this year, the chief of police was quoted in the GT saying that it's touch and go to respond to calls on some nights because of the volume of calls associated with student housing. We're also looking at paying for the collaboration Corvallis project and beefing up, the quote was, it's beefing up the services associated with that. Student housing that has no yard space, no usable yard space at all. It seems reasonable that these students are more likely to use parks and services. What I'm offering is that this population that we've enabled to grow significantly, not only is it affecting our livability and the character of our city, but we're subsidizing it. We're asking the citizens of Corvallis to subsidize the costs associated with this growth. And I think that that's a mistake. I think there's clearly a portion of people that are making a lot of money on the way this land's being developed and the way our city is being developed. And those are the people that should bear the cost associated with that development. Thank you.
I'm a 20-year veteran, or 20-year resident of Corvallis. I own a business. I work full-time. I volunteer for robotics, both at the high school and the Lego robotics level. And I have voted for levies in the past. I'm an independent as a registered voter, but I am not a Tea Party activist. I'm a pragmatist. One of these days I'll start a pragmatist party. While I have voted for levies in the past, what concerns me about this levy is that it's almost like there's a history of disingenuousness with the council, not the current council, but in the past we've had the 911 levy that was going to go strictly for fire and police. But when you read the actual bill, it went into the general fund, which meant that it could be spent for whatever. We had a downtown restoration area that went across Mary's River and incorporated Avonite. There was no real good explanation for that. There has not been a statistical rise in crime that anybody has mentioned or seems to be aware of. The point about the additional housing is a good one. There has not been any communication that I've seen from the council about statistical increase in fire response or fire, or EMT response or anything along the lines of that. I have heard about, potential cuts to city staff. I would vote personally to reinstate the existing levy. I might go a nickel or a dime over 45 cents, which I think is 45 or 55 cents. Ain't gonna happen, I'll vote no. Just straight up. As this gentleman here pointed out, there's never been, I've actually suggested this at one point, there's never been a proposal. We have administrative staff making six figures in this city. Where's their reduction? They didn't take a cost of living increase. Awesome, so they didn't get paid more. Who took the 5% pay cut? Who's taken a 10% pay cut? How much did our previous city manager make? $200,000 a year. So I value our city staff, but I question when we have middle managers that are making six-figure salaries that have been in these positions for a number of years, that perhaps who we're asking to sacrifice maybe aren't the right people. Thank you.
Live in the Stony Brook retirement community. After World War II, finished up my education, spent the years 1947 to 1999 working in various aspects of project management. And in every instance, the companies I worked for had some rather strict criteria and procedures for justifying their annual expenditures. I would ask very briefly two things of you. Please be sure that we, the voters, are provided with the facts, documented facts, if you would, the truths, the whole truths, and nothing but the truths, that justify the need for each and every one of the items on your list. You're going to be besieged with all kinds of opinions. Facts are rather scarce. If you don't have the facts, don't hesitate to say so, and we can make up our minds. Secondly, please make it clear the difference between the short-term and the long-term commitments that are involved in those lists. The short terms, porta potties, even tax levies, can be relatively short. 35 employees on the PERS situation are long-term commitments. They won't go away very quickly. They will last for decades. Please, please make clear the difference between short-term and long-term and give us the facts. We'll finish this stuff voting by opinion.
Before you tonight, I'm opposed to the council putting any tax levy on the ballot. In my comments, I would like to focus on the three worst items in my mind being proposed for this levy. First is the proposal for more police officers. The police force exists to maintain public safety. Our police force already has an outstanding record on that. As many of you know, the Farmers Insurance Group rates towns in the USA based on FBI crime statistics. Using those FBI crime statistics, Corvallis regularly gets rated as one of the safest places in the entire country. Additionally, each year Corvallis itself conducts a survey of its residents. Each year the residents overwhelmingly report that they feel safe in Corvallis. That's because we are safe, or at least as safe as any city can hope to be. Our existing police force achieves its objectives of maintaining public safety. We don't need a bigger police force. The second item that should not be in the levy is the reopening of the Walnut Fire Station. When that station was built, everyone knew the city could not afford it. But the big home developer in Timber Hill promised the city that it would build a huge wave of new houses from Circle Boulevard all the way to Leicester Avenue at the entrance to Bald Hill Park. Tax revenues from the new houses would pay for the new fire station. Well, the economy went bust and the developer went bankrupt. Only a tiny fraction of the promised homes were built. The city was stuck with a fire station it didn't need and couldn't afford. The city manager and the fire chief faced reality and finally recommended the closing of the station last year. We know that they would never have made such a recommendation if they felt that public safety would be jeopardized by closing that station. The station was closed because it was not needed to protect public safety. It should stay closed. The third and final item I want to address is the Osborne Aquatic Center. It too should not be in the levy proposal. For years, it has been an albatross on the city budget, draining from $400,000 to $500,000 per year from the city. It should never have been an albatross. It should have been a cash cow for the city. It should be generating revenues to pay for other services. It is a first-class resort facility, but its fee structure is well below what any comparable and profitable recreation facility charges. The city should direct management of the facility to create a new pricing structure that would make the facility self-supporting. Charitably speaking, the Osborne Aquatic Center has been a missed opportunity for the city. This outstanding facility that it is should be a revenue source for the city, not a drag on the budget. Manage it correctly. Stop subsidizing it.
First, I wanted to just thank you for having this opportunity for us to engage as a community. I know this is a really tough decision. And I just wanted to say, I think when I look at this list, everything on there has value. And we have a wonderful community here. It's really important that we maintain the livability in this community. But I do think that there's a balance. And when I understand things like, our Moody's credit rating has dropped, we are clearly in a situation with the HP decision where we're going to be short of some additional funds. We don't have appropriate reserves in the city to pay staff should we have a blip. And I just find that we have to achieve some kind of balance. And so as you look at these services, I'm not going to address them individually, but I just would say that I think you need to think about where do you maintain that balance in the community with trust with the citizens of the community in an amount that seems like it's fair, it's equitable, it has some high value services in there, but it also addresses some of the things that many people don't think about police and fire as livability issues until you bump up against the lack of them. To me, we clearly cannot afford everything on the list. I understand that you're in conversations, and I hope that as you whittle it down, you'll use some metrics to make some decisions. So if the fire station's already been closed for a while, what does the behavior tell us? Is there any evidence that we really have need? When we look at police response times, what do those tell us? When we look at utilization rates for the library and for the senior center and for the pool, what do those tell us about citizen engagement and involvement? And so I guess for me, I think the appropriate amount for the levy is probably more in the 85 cent to $1 range. I think if we get over that, you're going to reach a tipping point where it's going to be really hard to pass it. And I think you put in danger some of the programs and services that are so needed and well loved in the city. That's all. Thank you.